everybody, thanks for stopping by my channel. My name is Margaret and you are on BookTube. Welcome, welcome. It's going to be Tuesday and I'm doing a double tag for Tag Tuesday, also because I've got a backlog as always. So for today I'll be like the last person on earth to do the pain over joy tag, and I hope I'll have something new to say, as well as the bookshelf tag, which is not the same as the ideal bookshelf tag. But anyway, here we go. The bookshelf is a little difficult. I try to do these in order of how I was tagged, but I'm not in the place where most of my books are in Portland. I'm at home at my parents' where I grew up in California. So I'm going to miss most of the pictures here and do a little sidestepping, but I hope that's okay. Alright, so let's start with the Pain Over Joy tag. This is originally by Lady Lovestead Reads, who I recently started following, so this is a case of getting tagged by her tag and then, eventually finding my way over to her channel and subscribing. It's just great. I was tagged by Sina at Beating Around the Books, so there we go. Thank you so much, Sina. And number 1. Do you mostly read books illustrating pain or books illustrating joy? Why? I am of the belief that pain is part of a novel. I'm talking about fiction here. I prefer a novel to end with a sense of completion or triumph or satisfaction, which I think most novels do, which balances pain and joy. Can I break that down to percentages? I don't think so. So do I mostly read books illustrating pain or joy? I mostly read books that have a balance of both and end in an upward swing. That is my preferred mode, but you never know what you're going to get when you read something. As for nonfiction, it depends. My biographies lean toward, I guess, pain and conflict and sadness and, what's it called? Overcoming, what's it called? Adversity. Adversity is the word I'm looking for. Also science, politics, and sociology, and those sort of lean neutral for me. I feel like they're reporting facts in a way that doesn't put emotion into them for the most part. Question number 2. Do you see books about pain as more intellectually valuable? Why or why not? They do. My notes say outsider feeling, gatekeeping, and hierarchical. So when I thought about this, I was thinking along the lines of intellectually valuable is a loaded phrase. Beth Ann does a great job of explaining her view of that sort of loaded meaning. I guess I know what the prompt is getting at in terms of I can identify books that are like award books that feel like they're going to get prizes because they're talking about certain populations' pain in a certain way. So I can understand what the question is asking about, but in terms of giving that a value as better or more valuable than others, I would say no. I see them as different. In the same way that I can identify a type of plant as different, they're different books. I don't consider some books, oh yeah, I do. I do consider some books more intellectually valuable than others, but it's not because of the portrayal of pain or the style. It's more about the themes and the attempts at voice, I think, that make me consider something more valuable than another. But I don't know about intellectually valuable. That seems to be a specific tag. So, I don't know. This is a hard one to answer without unpacking multiple things. Alright, well, that's my attempt. Question 3. Why do you think major book prizes like the Booker and the Pulitzer mainly award books about pain? My answer is, not that I keep up with them, but if this is true, track back to my last answer about loaded definitions and valuing some people's experience more than others. That's just society. That's not the bookish community. Question 4, do you use and agree with the phrase guilty pleasure? Why or why not? the heart of the tag? No, because it's a stage you grow out of. For me, calling something a guilty pleasure is when you're still living your life according to other people's tenets. So when you grow up, you're given rules to follow and things that make you feel guilty because of those rules. When you grow up, you move out of that phase to evaluating the rules to correspond to what you believe, hopefully. And that means that stuff that you get pleasure from shouldn't make you feel guilty. So once you've reevaluated those beliefs, I feel like you either feel satisfaction from something or you lose the pleasure in doing the thing if you've decided it's not good for you. Does that make sense? So like if you like binging on candy corn, but you feel it's a guilty pleasure, eventually you get to a place where you're like, well, either I eat it and enjoy it, or I know that it's not good for me and I stop getting pleasure from eating it because I know that. So in terms of book reading that is a guilty pleasure, I don't really think that correlates as well, because if I was to say a romance with a bodice ripper on the cover is a guilty pleasure because it's not intellectually valuable, so I hide it from other people. If I grow in the community of BookTube and to the point where I see, oh, lots of people like this, there are valid reasons for appreciating the tropes, there are valid reasons for reading happy ever afters, like, why do I feel guilt about this? You would either read it and not feel guilt, or feel like, my time is better used reading something else and not read them. Like, that's where I think the adulting process sort of makes you diverge and make a decision, but maybe not. I don't know. Fight me on this. Question 5. Do you think books centering joy are guilty pleasures? No. Categorical no. I said it's a necessary antidote to life. One of the great joys of book reading. Question 6. Do you read in secret? Are there books you read but never talk about because of embarrassment, shame, or guilt about liking them? Not anymore, bitches! And question 7. Who do you tag? Shit. I feel like everyone in my audience has already done this, so this is going to be my cop-out of saying, if you haven't done this yet and are watching this now, feel free to consider this your personal tag. One thing I did want to add to this tag to possibly make it unique was something I picked up at a conference I was at a couple weeks ago, the Historical Novel Society conference. There was a panel of Black authors discussing themes in historical fiction, being a Black author in historical fiction. And they had some really great topics. One of the questions that they were asked was about showing or balancing Black pain and Black joy. And that's been, I think, a theme in BookTube, especially with Black booktubers, that there are a lot of books that are maybe considered intellectually valuable or trendy because they're about Black pain. And I think there's some reaction to that from the Black booktube community that you need to show the whole culture. You can't focus on one thing that dehumanizes us, right? So I definitely agree with that slicing one facet of a culture, of an experience, of a historical truth is not fair because it's kind of fetishizing it, right? So to have a book or a bunch of books that grapple with, for example, African American history in most cases in American publishing, you need to represent, number one, at the book level, whole characters. So not someone who just experiences pain after pain after pain. And number two, at the industry level, books that are more about Black joy than Black pain, because I think that's serving the audience, right? You want to get people to read about diverse voices and other people's histories. You want to have them come back. If you get nothing but trauma, I mean, yes, you're learning about a part of history, but don't you also want people to fall in love with the pieces of that culture that are unique and inspiring and valid? So I really enjoyed their viewpoints, and I'll just point out Vanessa Riley has a book coming out called Island Queen, which has been on BookTube for a while because I think they delayed the date for COVID, but it sounds amazing. She pointed out that this question of Black pain versus Black joy is a lot about the old economy versus the new framing. And I thought that was fantastic because the old economy is, this is what you learned about Black culture in America. You learn about the Emancipation Proclamation, and you learn about slavery is bad, and you learn about plantations, and then you learn about the Civil Rights Movement, and there's like just cherry picking of the history that represents, that doesn't represent, that presents an incomplete picture. And so in order to, again, at the book level, represent characters in a holistic way, and at the industry level, represent a population in a whole and deserving way, we need to get away from that and do more. Piper Hughley was also on that list. She's got a lot of books, I think some indie and some traditionally published. She said it's a question of who deserves happiness and the tropes that we're used to. She pointed out a Law and Order. I think it's the regular Law and Order, like the huge long-running series with the dum-dum, the sound effect we all know and love, and how all of these people that were regulars, that were not like the story or crime of the moment, they got into their backstories as the series went on. But this one Black actress's character never got a backstory until the very end, and then it was a very sad storyline and sort of ended her run on the show as an afterthought. And so when you look at representation, who deserves their story to be told, for one, and who deserves happiness are things to consider, which I thought was great to point out for this pain over joy tag. Piper Hughley also pointed out that happiness, or joy, I guess, for a capitalist culture is not joy for everybody. So if you're thinking, oh, joy means I've made $1 million and I'm retiring to a yacht in the Caribbean, like that is not happiness for everybody. And so when you think about pain and joy and evaluation in the book world, you need to evaluate what is happiness for that person in that context at that historical moment, since we're at Historical Novel Society, which I thought was a great point. So that's what I'll leave for pain and joy, and a little extra from the Historical Novel Society conference from the author perspective, from Black authors who I encourage you to read. So that was Vanessa Riley, Piper Hughley, and Denny Bryce. And I'll put links to their latest books down below to support Black authors. Okay, I'm ready for number 2. Can I just tell you how relieved I am that when I woke up this morning, the thing on my brain was I stuffed that foam mattress thing in the trash can, and it's not going to come out when they empty it. I'm going to have to deal with it again next week. So I went outside and I cut up this foam pad that was like the size of a sleeping bag into strips so it would fit into the trash can loosely, and then didn't close it entirely. And I was like, oh, are they going to get me for not closing entirely? Because anyway, I was afraid I was going to be damned if I did, damned if I didn't. But they collected it and dumped everything. So I was like, joy of the day. All right. So as I said, I'm not at my bookshelf location, but I want to do this tag today. So let's go. We have the original tag is by Serena of A Wandering Mind, and I was tagged by Roz at Scallydandling about the books. I said it. And I have not done a bookshelf tour. I think those are kind of boring, so and I'm not there anyway. Prompt number 1. How many bookshelves do I have? And by my count, by memory, I have about 6. I've got a bookshelf on my kitchen island, which is rather wide. I've got a bookshelf in the corner desk, which is small. A tall, thin bookshelf by the corner desk, which is pretty big. A low boy bookshelf in the hallway, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a big one, like one of those big IKEA rickety ones in my bedroom. I'm trying to think where I have the 6th one. When I counted, I came up with 6. Oh, right. There's the one I thought I was going to donate. That was like old oak wood. And that's like a small kind of a column that I used for my TBRs, but not now. Question number 2, how many books on your shelves? So last I counted, it was like 1,000 plus. And now I think because of all my trying to get them out of the house, trying to let go of the ones I don't need, periods of book buying austerity, I think I'm under 1,000, but it's still a lot. Including ebooks. I looked at my Kindle and Smashwords and iBooks, and there's not very many, but between 150 and 160. Audiobooks, I do have a lot. I look on Libro and it gives me the exact number because Libro.fm is amazing. And you should use them for your audiobook purveyor needs. 248 audiobooks. Question number 3, how are your bookshelves organized? I organize them by genre, by language, and by whether they're read or unread. So, like if I had my ideal bookshelf, although this is not that tag, I would be able to organize them by genre, but it's a little out of kilter because you have oversized books, and like any bookseller knows, oversized books are sort of the bane of your existence, but what are you gonna do? So, genre, like I recently reorganized the one in my bedroom, the big one, and I've got like a favorite shelf and a sci-fi fantasy and a mystery and a bunch of nonfiction, and the low boy in the hallway is mostly historical fiction and general fiction, and then I've got like research books in the tall one in the corner, things I might use for like turn of the 20th century, and then I've got a shelf of writing books, and French has its own corner, costuming has its own corner, travel has its own shelf, that sort of thing. So mostly by genre. Language, French gets pushed into the corner, and whether read or unread. So I realized a few years ago it's important to me that I read the books that I've been hoarding for so long. So I put the read ones in the back when I double stack, because I have to double stack my books. I put the red ones in the back and put the unread ones to the front so that they're staring me in the face. And whether this is optimized for happiness being at the foot of my bed so that I see them when I wake up before I go to sleep, who knows? But this is part of my personality. When I want to do something, I make myself reminded by putting it in the way or putting it where I can see it. And, going back to the pain or joy tag, this may be a way of guilting myself into doing things that's not particularly healthy, but I will step over the thing 17 times before I actually deal with it. I don't know a better way to work with that. Question number 4, the oldest book on your bookshelf. So, again, from memory, I have a really old sort of folio thing that was falling apart that I got for free from Backstory Books. And the title is like written in Sharpie on the edge because it's like compiled from the 1860s to 1880s. It's called Gleanings, and it's got like a lot of like church sermons and pastoral life, like poetry, and it's very random. I've only like dipped into it a couple times, but I just thought it was so old and cool that I wanted to save it because otherwise it was going in the trash. This might be it. Or I have a 3-volume set of Maria Edgeworth that looks very old. That might be like 2nd edition. And I haven't read it, 1, because Maria Edgeworth, and 2, because I don't want to handle the books too much. And 3, I actually picked up from Powell's in a slipcover or a plastic sleeve, a very thin pamphlet of like something from Parliament during Disraeli's time in office. So that's like mid-19th century. I don't know when it would have been reprinted, but so that's super old. So those are my little finds. Like they're not worth very much, I think, because they're all being thrown away, but they're very old, and so they're like cool for me. Question 5, your newest books on your shelf. Okay, so I mean, I could look at the pre-orders I got in Libro, but I'm going to go with physical books for this because they're more fun to hold up. And the newest books I got are the ones I just got in the mail. Minimum Wage Magic by Rachel Aaron. I'm buddy reading this month with John of Hey Y'all, Listen Up. The Women of Copper Country by Maria Doria Russell. This is her latest historical fiction. Someone told me it was a comp for my book I was working on, so I got this after the conference, and I haven't read her yet, but I think I will love her. If I did one of those 5-star prediction videos, this might be on it, but I don't, so I'm just hopeful. And then this one had Gilded in the title, also an author at the conference, so this is a HNS by Under a Gilded Moon by Joy Jordan Lake, and I just listened to the panel that she was on, and she seems interesting, so yeah, I'm excited to read this. Again, a comp for my book, so I gotta find people who are in this, swimming in the same pool. So those are my newest acquisitions and very relatively new books. All right, question 6, the longest book. Please see Luminaries and the video where Brittany and I talk about that super fun chunk to read. And my shortest book for question 7. So I brought these down because I thought, this is the perfect time. I can totally talk about a book I've never talked about before. I don't know how many of you had little books like this, but they're actual books, and they're like the size of an ear, basically. So this is The Tale of Mrs. Tiggywinkle by Beatrix Potter. And I just loved these as a kid, and I came across them recently. They have illustrations. They have very little text. Sally Hennypenny, have you found 3 pocket Hankins? And they're just adorable. I don't know why I was so obsessed with them, but I remember reading especially this one, Hansel and Gretel, over and over again. It had like really simple line drawings and print, and so these were just like my favorite when I was a kid. So short, very short books. Very short books. Question 8, predominant genre. So historical fiction and nonfiction, since those are both huge. Question 9, bookshelf tour. Sorry, no. Question 10, random number generator and talk about that book. Okay, so I did this, since I don't have my shelves and numbers wouldn't be very helpful, I did this via Storygraph, and I just like sorted the books a different way. Of course, I won't save it. So books I own, authors A to Z, is that what I did? Yeah. So Aaron Jackson, August March, The Astonishing Life of August March, and talk about it. Okay, so I read this a couple years ago. It's associated with what's that book about the traveling Shakespearean troupe and the dystopian future? Whatever that one. I think I read it about the same time. But this one, it started out really good. It had a lot of like inside sort of Broadway acting life shenanigans and a sort of fabulous premise. Baby was born to an actress and she didn't want the baby, so she left it in the theater, and the baby grew up never going out of the theater. And it's set in a historical time where it's pre-World War II, when he's sort of navigating life, and it was strange. Yeah, what can I say about it? I don't remember how it ended, but I do remember I either got used to the style or the style got more modern. The voice or the tone was a little strange as well. It was kind of like what I imagined a voiceover narrative at the beginning of a movie would be like. It's sort of omniscient, but just focused on one character and telling the backstory and giving like wink wink nudges. So I gave it like a 3.5 stars because it was an interesting tale and there were lots of funny scenes and stuff. But then I read a review where August March is a character in another book, and I thought, oh well, that's not very original. And I don't know. So there you go. Not a recommendation, but it was fine. Okay. Question 11. fan merch or decorations on the shelves. Yes, and this is specifically for Jim at Jim's Books Reading and stuff. So because I'm in San Luis, I have these fun decorations on my shelf. These are like little model cars that have always been here. Dusty. Sorry. The Hoover. It beats as it sweeps, as it cleans. I have no idea where we got these. But they're fun little, I don't know what they're called. There's even like a Royal Mail truck. There we go. Maybe we got that in England. And then the one that I remember is the one, it used to have a string. The string is broken, but it's like a little kid's toy. It's the Postman Pat, and it's got shapes that you would put in there, and it makes a little noise when you wheel it around. So I kept this. So yeah, there's like things that don't have a place, but they look good on a shelf and give it some variety. So I like variety on my shelf, like some books like this, some books like this, like a vase, and little doodads. It makes it feel personalized. I like that. And question 12 is show your shelves, which I can't do. I guess that is it. And am I going to tag anyone on this? Let's see. Whose shelves do I want to see? Okay, I found a couple channels that I want to tag with the bookshelf tag, which is Potato Brarian, that's Amy, and The Lamp in the Library, which is, I haven't seen them for a while, Graham and Kim. So I hope you guys have fun looking through your shelves and finding quirky things like that. And yeah, so this is going to be a long video. Sorry guys. Double Tag Tuesday. Happy July. I'm back into the basement. Keep cool. Stay safe. Thanks for watching. Bye. Did I write down who I was going to tag in this? Bookshelf tag. Bookshelf tag. It's in here somewhere. Alright, well, I'm going to let myself off the hook because, I don't know.